Here's something about Carroll Cove. I'm Ash, your librarian, and a couple thousand years ago, according to local researchers, a meteor hit our little seashore area, creating a giant cove that we will one day lovingly name Carroll Cove, after our founder John Carroll founded the town in 1869. In the middle of this cove lies an island that's said to be the very tip of the meteor and is said to be home to some really bad juju. People say there's something on the island that causes bad luck to befall our town, from the mine disaster of 1918, the Great Quake of 1946, the Great Slaughtering of 1995, and some even say the fish kill of 2002. Experts claim that it's just morbid superstition, but locals disagree. Are these supernatural, extraterrestrial, or simply unfortunate coincidences? No one really knows, but here's something from Carroll Cove. I'm Ash, your librarian, and some of you asked about the fish kill of 2002 from my last video. Fish kill is when a local fish population depletes, normally due to overfishing. Normally, after the Great Quake, the town rebuilt itself with the backbone of a fishing economy, with major exports being crab, tuna, and salmon. You may be asking, salmon and tuna? Don't think about it too hard. In May 2002, the fish population disappeared, with Gaia Corp claiming overfishing. However, local fishermen scientists claim otherwise, as nothing had changed until Gaia Corp tried to survey the island on the cove, leading to mass protests. Months went by before they came to a settlement. Fishermen now being able to sell fish goods on a regular basis, despite the continued lack of fauna in the cove. Where do these fish goods come from? Who knows, but here's something about Carroll Cove. I'm Ash, your librarian, and the local elections are coming up. Here are the candidates. Chancellor Tyrone S. Rex, head of Carroll Cove University and former Gaia Corp Vice President and current Carroll Cove Mayor, Mallory Lucius. But his fangirls call him Mal-licious. I mean, it's right there. Anyway, Chancellor Rex has been the head for the past 4 years and is a pretty awesome guy. Intellectual, kind, and great with kids. No red flags unless you count being a velociraptor a thing. As for the mayor, he's kinda, well, I mean, after stepping down as VP, only to make it legal for him to step back up while being mayor, he kinda tells you what's up. I mean, look at his portrait. Bad guy vibes. Then again, I guess his questionable good looks did get him elected last time. Anywho, here's a little more about Carroll Cove. I'm Ash, your librarian, and here's some background. I was tasked to make a little window to Carroll Cove past to present to celebrate the town's 154th anniversary. Since it's not a major milestone here, you have me. Anyway, this series is brought to you by our friends at the Little Shop of Lost Things. Feeling lost yourself? Head on to the Little Shop of Lost Things, where everyone finds what they're looking for. Eventually. There's a small business here that's been around since the town's inception, which is perfect for the event. Currently owned by my friends and ex-college roomies, Sunny and Luna. The shop is a way of finding things that seem to have been misplaced or thought to be lost. From your car keys to important documents, sometimes even people. They claim to have no involvement in their disappearances, and that they all magically wind up here. Eventually. Anyway, here are some of my replies to your queries. I'm really glad you guys are liking the library's Window to Carroll Cove project. It really means a lot. That's a little difficult because at a certain point, fog covers the cove and it's a little hard to navigate past that, but more on that later. I think you're onto something. We never see fresh fish. They're all processed, canned, jarred, even imitation crab. The thing is, they all originate from Carroll Cove, but where do they come from? The word of today is allegedly, but in all seriousness, I cannot legally claim that Gaia Corp has anything to do with it. But if you're to ask me, I think... Here's a little something about Carroll Cove. I'm Ash, your librarian, and this story is brought to you by this hot cocoa I got from my pen pal, Alyssa, who works at the cafe downtown. The Koffeine Cafe opened out of nowhere in 2020, and is a coffee shop that oddly doesn't sell coffee. I go there as part of my morning routine for cocoa since starting at the library. This place seems a little off though. I mean, the regulars don't seem to be from here. Then again, they do seem to look for leads on mysteries, so that's to be expected, I guess. That's actually how I met Alyssa. Not in person, but she always seems to leave me a free drink for only 50% off. Not sure if she's ripping me off or she's just bad at math, but she's the only one who listens to my conspiracy theories, which I appreciate. Anyhow, so I've picked out a bunch more comments from the videos. Man, you guys are more active on the library channel than usual. Oh, are you talking about Camille? Yeah, she used to stop by here for her research on a paper, and a new project of hers at the cafe. It was kind of funny how she started working there actually, but I haven't seen her since the lockdown 3 years ago. I think she moved back home? I hope she's okay. I completely agree with you with the monster of Carroll Cove, but more on that later. However, the whole thing with the mining disaster and the Great Quake is around 20 years apart, and as you'll see in a future video, not all is as it seems. Ooh, spooky! Who's Lisa? Here's the thing about Carroll Cove. I'm Ash, your librarian, and Carroll Cove Park is known to be a great spot for picnics, sporting events, and hiking trails, as it leads into the mountainous forest. It's a great place to hang out during the weekends and is watched over by my good friend, Park Ranger Dave. He tried offering me that park ranger job again. I know he means well, but I like it here in the library. For one, none of the stuff I read about are actually out to get me. And two, there's more weird stuff everywhere in town compared to just the park. Not to say they're not interesting. There were reports of whales, and Dave tells me about that really tall guy who keeps kidnapping social media influencers. Maybe I can ask my pen pal to check it out. I mean, I would, but my hands are full with this project, so anywho. You guys really like this segment, huh? Well, I also like talking to you guys. Oh, well, that's not a secret. Carrie's a real swell gal. Don't know how she eats, though. So we'll get into this once the time comes, but would you like me to personally show you guys what happens when we get there? It has its quirks, as I'm sure a lot of little old towns do, but I guess it can be weirder than most. But at least it's not Suitville. Here's some news from Carroll Cove. I'm Ash, your librarian, and the carnival's back in town. Although some people say it's never really left. Others say it was never here to begin with. The Murphy's Traveling Carnival of Dreams comes over every summer, ever since 1920, being one of the few forms of entertainment before the cinemas, malls, and the internet. In 1995, an unknown creature reportedly tore through the vicinity, leaving hundreds of casualties, including the then owners themselves, John and Laszlo Murphy. Nobody heard from them until their big return 5 years later, rebranding to the Murphy's Traveling Carnival of Nightmares. Some claim it's a good time, others say there's nothing there at all. Who knows? But I hear that if you visit there off-season, you may still experience the fun that dreams were once made of. I've got my ticket, so any more questions? Thoughts? I've got some too! Last time I went there for my grandpa old Pappy Reed's sanity, it wasn't there. Probably too abstract. Maybe to you it's weird, but to us it's just a regular Tuesday. Huh, I guess that is strange. He is a friendly little guy, but we've learned not to pet him unless you've got gloves on. Let's dig a little deeper into Carroll Cove, huh? You'll get that in a second. I'm Ash, your librarian, and do you know about the old mines connected to the natural cave systems under town? We used them to harvest precious stones and coal for trade. Rumor says that they even discovered a mineral containing a charge so great that a pebble could power a car. But not long after this, there was a deadly gas leak that drove everyone away during the mining disaster of 1918, which may still be down there to this day. By the way, did you know that miners use canaries to pick up on poisonous gases? It's cute, but don't think too hard about what happens to them. Officially, it was a natural disaster, but Gaia Corp may have covered it up to mine the new mineral themselves. It could also be a society of mutant canary people underground. Who really knows? Either way, I see your queries are becoming conspiracies. Don't tell my boss, but I'm completely here for it. I think my pen pal just saw that episode. Lately, it's been full price for free. I'll ask her about it next time I send her a message. Murphy's Law, huh? I guess no one really expected what would be considered an eldritch creature to come there. Talk about bad luck. Random sponsor? Well, you guys should check out the Little Shop of Lost Things. It's got a lot of good stuff. My friends don't bite. Maybe Sunny. Sunny bites. Want to learn a little more about Carroll Cove? I'm Ash, your librarian, and here's some university. Carroll Cove University was founded in 1922 by then-heads, now possibly ghost lovers, Phineas and Alicia Carroll. It used to be a small school built by Louis Tenniel and a research center led by John Carroll, both established in 1887. The family rivalry was strong, especially because Carroll discovered and named the town a few minutes before Tenniel got to. That all changed when their grandchildren met. It was love at first sight when Phineas Carroll and Alicia Tenniel met in the same school, having to hide their love from their families for several years. On the very night they were to elope, their grandfathers discovered and separated them. Their rage was said to have caused their fatal heart attacks, leading to the young couple inheriting both facilities. And so they decided to run the school and research facility as one, forming the university. Some say to this day you can still see the young couple roam around campus like the olden days, finally free to show their love. But anyway, you guys have a lot of juicy comments. Keep them coming. Well, yes, but some of the stuff here I also hear from around town, and others from old Pappy Reed. I know he's an old kook and all, but he is the town archivist for a reason. I mean, if Gaia Corp goes to him for his opinion, then that should mean something. Good luck trying to get in. Corp has a perimeter around the area. You'd think this would be illegal since the mines are a public space and a part of the park, or that at least the government would take care of it, but then again, there's rumors of dinosaurs and mutant canaries. I hear they may be at war. Ah, sorry, it's Soutville, our sister town. We'll be getting into that later down the line, but I'd love to live in a town of soup. Here's a little something from Carroll Cove. I'm Ash, your librarian, and the Carroll Cove Library is an ever-changing maze that has everything, and I mean everything, you need. If you don't know what you're looking for, then you can end up lost. Indecision can cost you. I guess you can say it's superstition, but I have heard reports of some students going missing after a late night of researching here. Never got to find them, but well, that is the definition of going missing. I guess it helps that I'm always sure of what I need when I'm here, which explains the fact that it was the main requirement for getting this job in the first place. My grandpa being the archivist here should help with that, but not too many people take the old kook seriously enough. Except for Corp at least. Hopefully this sells you on visiting more often, but I'm also here to answer some of your questions. We're a rather small town, but there are a lot of college students here that come and go. Finally, someone who agrees with my mutant canary conspiracy. Did you lose a dog? Maybe try the pound? Do you want to visit Carroll Cove? I'm Ash, your librarian, and the town's a hotspot for tourists because of its explorable caves, beautiful mountain trails, crystal clear beaches, and a guaranteed 90% chance of getting home safely. What isn't guaranteed is anything following you back, but they don't want me to tell you that. The town has amazing fishing spots around the cove that can yield fish, apparently. There's also the scenic routes to Lover's Lane where you can get an amazing view of the town, if you don't get caught by a dapper monocle guy or potato sack hasher. I mean, they're allegedly urban legends, but the disappearance rate's not supposed to talk about that. The caves are pretty fun. You might bring home a gem, crystal, or heavy radiation. Either way, I'm sure you'll be glowing in no time. They say time flies when you're having fun, and I'm sure you will too. But anyways, I'm back to answering you guys' questions. Did you see anything in the last video? Some people said they saw something, but I didn't spot anything too weird. Well, here's the map right here. Not sure if it'll be of any help, and I'll be explaining why on a later video. The thing about the Vatican's library policy is actually really interesting. As for the mystery dungeon, I'm not sure, but every time I walk into my office, it looks a little different on the way, but I don't really think about it. What do you mean? I'm the librarian. How can I go missing? Here's a foggy detail about Carroll Cove. I'm Ash, your librarian, and the cove itself has pretty normal weather, with it raining some days, sunny on others. But oddly enough, the borders around town are always covered in fog. Even tourists say that they always find themselves lost in it on the road before ending up here. They've also complained about how this isn't Silent Hill. I mean, if only. Oh, to study those creatures in that town. They say that if you stand inside the fog without any protection, you'll start to hallucinate, seeing dead loved ones or hellish nightmare creatures, but that's just hearsay, since the people that do come back tend not to say anything due to their comatose state. Unfortunately, my grandpa won't take me there to see for myself, but from what I know, there's something there. Something big. Something hungry. It could even be something imaginary. Who knows? So, for today's little Q&A, I pulled a few strings and managed to bring us here to Crater Lake. I managed to rent out a ferry, and here's Chuck the Ferryman. Say hi! What a chatterbox. Just don't tell my grandpappy. Anyway, before we get into the questions, let me show you what happens when I step beyond the border of Carroll Cove, which practically happens all around it. It just so happens that the ferry is literally on the border right now. As you can see, you cannot see. Let me take a step out before anything happens. Huh, I don't remember being in this part of the lake. Not sure about that, since they don't always rule out disappearances with death, since most folks come back after a while, a long while, but not entirely the same, most of the time. Oh, that's not Slender Man. That's slightly elongated guy. But I mean, he's usually the one out there hunting influencers, but they've told me he's recently filed a restraining order against someone who was legally described as a yellow little thing? Maybe I should ask my pen pal to check it out. Oh, okay. What if that gas leak wasn't a gas leak, but something else? There were some birds that were left trapped in there after all, and people have been spotting some yellow birds around town, but something's off about them. They seem different, smarter, vigilant, and muscular. What if they have this hyper-intelligent civilization down there? I mean, I have evidence. That must be my grandpappy. Better head back before he checks out the office. Here's what's up about Carroll Cove. I'm Ash, your librarian, and You might have noticed that disappearances happen here a lot, one of the most famous being of local billionaire Hamlet May, head of Gaia Corp's research department. He and his adopted niece were quite the mystery, as not a lot of people have really seen her. Ever since their disappearance in 2019, there's been a lot of rumors, from experiments, hoaxes, to conspiracies that even involved renowned researcher Koffeinated, but more on her later. Other people say he's probably off in some vacation home. I mean, he's got all the money in the world, but I heard his former business partners did something to him. I mean, a large portion of his shares in the company did default back to them and then some. And with no living heir, with the niece gone missing as well, all of the assets are frozen. And guess who's there trying to get all of it? But anyways, I wonder how she is now. Okay, I'm back in the library. That was quite a fun field trip, huh? Chuck says he'll see you all soon. I'm not seeing anything. Maybe something on your devices? Try turning it off and on again, maybe? I mean, all we have here are books, but maybe I can call up Sunny and Luna to show us some things that were found. Who is this Lisa? This sounds exactly like something my pen pal would do, though. Looking for something in Carroll Cove? I'm Ash, your librarian, and here's a map of the town. If you were to check an international map, you won't find us. The government tells us that it's just a small mistake from map makers, but others say it's because our country doesn't even acknowledge us. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's censored. We're part of... You see, we aren't even on any weather news reports, so planning out for it is impossible. Anyway, if you want to see more maps, we've got one from the 1800s, one from the 1900s, one from the gift shop, and my D&D map, which is somewhat based on the Carroll Cove map, but who would ever put warlocks where lodging is, or who would ever put lodging where the warlocks are, or... Well, these are all set up in the library, so drop by. Anywho, here I am with some even more questions. I was born and raised here with my grandpappy. Carroll Cove is honestly all I've ever known, so I can't help but be fond of its oddities. Not since the fish kill of 2002, but I do have a picture of myself fishing back in 2001. I mean, after that, the fish goods just kind of appear there, so I don't really know where they come from. I mean, I can ask Chuck since he's been there all day, but I don't think even he knows where they come from either. That could be true. Nobody really knows what happened to him. I have my own theories about it, but even I admit, I don't know. There's not enough information to be quite honest. Anywho... Here's what's what from Carroll Cove. I'm Ash, your librarian, and you might be wondering, what exactly are people researching here? Well, it started from the mines, where they apparently found a possible source for renewable energy. Ever since the mines shut down, it's said that Gaia Corp's been trying to replicate this source. In comes prodigy Koffeinated, who eventually headed the study. As one of the youngest researchers, she's become somewhat of a legend among scholars here. Rumor has it she's got this other project that's being kept under wraps. Some say that she's studying the exact thing they found in the mines long ago. I don't know what makes it so sketchy that it has to be a secret. Some say it's something alive. Too bad we'll never find out, given she went missing in 2020. What you've got right now is just me and this exhibit. So anyway, even more questions? Well, I'll do my best to answer what I know and what I can. I feel like I'm not qualified to answer this. I'm just a librarian, not a botanist. I mean, we do have books about the trees, but I'd rather not check. No, actually. I haven't met them yet. Maybe next time I'll stop over the cafe. I'll see if I can catch them for an interview. Yeah, sorta. Most people who come around were fans of Silent Hill, who then get disappointed when they realize we aren't Silent Hill. Anywho, wanna hear a spooky story from Carroll Cove? I'm Ash, your librarian, and if you were to ask about our folklore, the most prominent would be the monster of Carroll Cove. Story goes that John Carroll and Louis Danielle raced to find habitable land in the area until a strange, formless creature approached Carroll. It proposed a small favor for the location of our town. After beating Danielle, it's said that John went behind the creature's back, breaking whatever deal they made, which cursed the land. Since then, it's been spotted several times at different points in history. In 1995, a formless creature tore through the carnival. One said to shapeshift specifically into your worst nightmare. Is it the same entity? Either way, that was the last reported sighting. However, I've been hearing rumors of a similar entity roaming the streets at night. Who knows? Is it really back? Or is this just another part of Carroll Cove's curse that can still be traced back to the very same monster? Anyway, got any more conspiracy theories? Looks like it. Well, the fog's been around for a while now. It started a few years ago. It was way thicker back then. way thicker. They started the lockdowns then, actually. If anything, Gaiacorp's been trying to thin it down. I think they're scared of it? What do you mean? It is currently 2023, right? I'm not keeping anything too hush-hush for Gaiacorp, although I do wish I could tell you everything. My boss has told me not to talk about anything that might give the town a bad name. Anyway, do you believe in ghosts? I'm Asher Librarian, and I sure do. I mean, who wouldn't? The town is riddled with them, but the funny thing is, it's just so weird in this town that they're the least of your worries. There are naysayers who say they don't exist, or they're just superstitious stories to tell kids, or that there's just not enough paranormal activity. But given how old everything is and the sighting reports in the area, I'm inclined to believe. Most of them manifest in photos, videos, the corner of your eye, but they don't really do anything your neighbor wouldn't. They hit the groceries, walk their dogs, gossip with locals who, most of the time, don't realize they're talking to the dead. Whatever afterlife they may be in, it doesn't seem to be restless. They just don't want to be bothered. But then again, who really does? But anyhow, it seems you guys have just a few more questions for me to check out. Well, they started off as just a research firm, but eventually, after their research became quite successful, they started a bunch of different businesses around the town. Household goods, tech gadgets, websites, fast food, etc., etc. Come to think of it, they're just so big, it's hard to keep track of all the things they do at this point, which is strange as to why they keep their HQ in town. Then again, I do hear rumors about another branch of theirs that may be a little more sketchy, because for the love of God, they claim to have tacos, but they don't have any Mexican food. I guess you can call it a shapeshifter, judging by how some people described it before. Thanks to that, there's no real say to any solidified form. However, there are a lot of accounts over the years of similarly described entities roaming about, and you may have already seen the photos that some people have submitted over the course of the last couple of years. And here's one that I took specifically. Speaking of, I'm taking submissions from residents around town, but a lot of them are also pictures that I took using my camera, before it broke a couple years ago. Haven't really had the time to repair it though. Anyway, care to stay a night? I'm Asher Librarian, and here's a little incentive to spend a night in Carroll Cove. From the very inception of this land, Carroll Cove has been the hotspot for meteor showers. The night sky tends to be illuminated by an amazing show of lights as the very heavens above come crashing down. Most of these events are uncatalogued, probably because of how often it happens, but it can all be traced back to the first meteor that formed the cove. There was one hit, however, on the outskirts of town that was a little interesting. There were reports of possibly something alive in it. Unfortunately, before I could personally get any information, Gaiacorp took the meteorite somewhere for scientific research. They might think it could be something linked to that first meteor. I say phooey, but then again, it has been 4 years since that happened, so... Anyway, before we get into the questions, just following up a question from yesterday with a little story. Back in 2019, Dave gave me this interesting photograph that he allegedly found in a box in his office belonging to the last park ranger. He believes it came from 1995 and was taken around the time of the Great Slaughter, which, if this is the same creature, confirms it ran into the woods. Naturally, I decided to stay the night at the park to see if I can get a glimpse of the creature. Unfortunately, Dave had too much to eat and got sick, so I stagged it out on my own. As I was walking in the woods, I noticed a meteorite heading south of Lover's Lane, where I managed to find this thing in the rubbish. Luckily, I managed to catch a photo before I hid for my life because, holy crap, there was a giant alien thing. Before I knew it, Gaiacorp had made it there, captured the creature, and took the meteorite. The thing is, nobody believes me despite the fact that I have these photographs. So, what do you think? You believe me, right? Anyway, on to the questions. I've heard rumors of creatures coming in and out of Gaiacorp, most of the time against their will, but that's just hearsay. Though a lot of it started after an explosion around 2020 in their facility. It was said to be caused by 2 individuals wearing green and yellow, but we don't really know. But after that day, there's been more paranormal activity, and those weird void bubble things popping around town, so who's really to say? My apologies if that was confusing. What we guess is the ghost of our relatives? I mean, people still die here, it's just that if you were referring to the missing people, they're the only ones who aren't counted as dead, cause, well, you never know with this town. Well, it's about a 10-minute walk to the cafe from the library, so it's not that far and easy to spot if you catch it. I swear, sometimes it isn't even there. Anyway, feeling hungry? I'm Ash, your librarian, and stop by the Happy Hornet, one of the last-minute sponsors of the exhibit. Their contribution really helped continue the exhibit by not only filling our pockets, but also our stomachs with their triple cheese buzz burgers. May contain beef, allegedly. Anyways, all I know is that you shouldn't go there after midnight, as it may get a little quirky. I mean, sure, there's no staff, and your order just happens to appear, but people report weird lights and sounds, large hornet-shaped objects flying about, and even people allegedly disappearing for hours, only to return not having any memories after entering the restaurant. They do, however, claim to be satisfied, despite looking like they got the happiness sucked right out of them. I've only been there once, but the price you may pay for it may not be as cheap as you'd expect. At least that's according to my friends at the little shop of lost things. Anyway, looks like some of you are hungry for some answers. Yep, the Bird's been part of the town for a really long time now. They're one of the first news organizations here. Over the years, they've actually branched out to other stuff. You may know them for their segments in the university. Fun fact, compasses don't work here. Who really knows? I don't know if that's scientifically possible, but it does sound like a story, or several stories, that I'd love to hear one day, eventually, hopefully. Anyway, cue the Jurassic Park music, cause we're gonna talk dinosaurs. I'm Ash, your librarian, and you might be wondering why there's even dinosaurs here to begin with. Well, remember the meteor? Yeah, when it came crashing down, it apparently carried some bones from the Earth's orbit and brought it down with it. How did it get the bones? Supposedly, when the meteor that killed the dinosaurs hit the Earth, some dinosaurs got thrown into space. Please don't ask, which allowed this meteor to come back down with some fossils. We actually have a few here in the museum. But how are they even alive and walking among us? Theory is, radioactive material from the meteor mutated the fragment of the dinosaur bones, causing them to come alive and eventually continue living their lives, making complex civilizations underground. When the underground sewer system was built back in the early 1900s, there were reports of reptilian creatures roaming around. I even have a picture. Look, see? There's a tail right there. But anyhow, I know I answered a lot of your questions yesterday, but you guys seem to have a lot more. Well, it doesn't taste like any kind of meat I've had before. At the same time, it's actually written in their menus as well, so I'm not sure either. I am not sure myself, but allegedly the monster's been here for quite a long time, so it is possible. Either way,
I'm still here, and no matter what they do, they won't get rid of me.
I'm currently single. I'm not in pursuit of any romantic relationship, but I am in the pursuit of truth. And my grandpa won't let me date. Not that I want to, but anyhow. How safe is your town? I'm Ash, your librarian, and, well, I can say that my town's pretty safe, for the most part, I guess. Then again, we do have a lot of vigilantes. I wouldn't call them superheroes, as none of them have any superpowers, really, but they do have an intensive line of merchandise that can be bought online, and I don't get why the police won't track them down from it. I don't even understand why there's so many of them. We're barely even a city. There isn't exactly a lot of hardcore crime happening. Mary Lucius did make crime illegal, so there's Bandit and the Bee, the Scarlet Cheshire, and the world's greatest detective, Scruffy the Rat. Is he a detective? Is he a rat? He's probably just a rat, but by God is he a great crime fighter. But anyhow, well, hello there to more new questions. Well, I told you guys how to get here last time, but I figured since we have this question too, we'd start off with an interview with my pen pal, who is unfortunately not here. So we have our partner, Zed.
It's Z, actually. And what are you doing behind the counter?
Well, don't you look awfully familiar?
No, I don't. What?
Anyway, he'll be helping me answer your questions.
Who are you again?
And here they are.
What?
In terms of revenue, I can't give you a specific percent right now, but I know the biggest revenue comes from Gaia Corp, seconded by the university, so I'm not sure where tourism goes, but it's likely quite a chunk.
You guys get paid? And who are you talking to?
As for those interviews, I'm planning on going around to do just that, so look forward to those. Oh, one of the viewers asked if we can meet with the owner of the establishment. What do you say?
Well, the landlord, he doesn't like showing up on camera, especially not after what happened with Lisa last Christmas. So, yeah.
I guess before we go, there are some viewers who addressed you by name. Do you have any comments on this? And your mentioned connection with Incognito?
What? Who? I don't know who you guys are talking about. I haven't seen nor heard of her before. But if you guys do see her or hear from her, let me know. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having us, Zed, but anyhow...
Look to the sky! I'm Asher Librarian, and you might have noticed the largest and only skyscraper in town outside. It's a bit of an eyesore, considering a lot of buildings here don't pass 3 stories, but for one reason or another, Gaia Corp put their main headquarters here. You'd think that would put us on a map, but you'd be mistaken. Gaia Corp, or previously the Gaia Research Institute, is one of the oldest and most successful corporations residing here. They mainly studied the areas within the town, but they eventually expanded their ventures to the benefit of humanity. Thus, businesses like Nacho Gyms, Parasol, Scam, as well as Drassel, the very social media site you're watching us on, were created. Though their research division hasn't really diminished. Some even say that they've gone to study stuff they don't want the public to find out. Anyway, that's lunch, and I have some tacos to eat, even if they're not really Mexican. At least, Nacho Gyms isn't. But anywho, here's another roundup of questions and answers. Bandit and the Bee have been roaming around for a while until they disappeared around 2019. The Scarlet Cheshire came around 2018 and is still going strong. But Scruffy the Rat's been around for ages and is the true OG. He's actually formed the Hero Society of Carroll Cove in the 80s. Almost all of the members have retired, except for Scruffy, as crime never sleeps, and neither does Scruffy. Oh, I'm a fan of the Scarlet Cheshire. All her gadgets look really cool. And for one reason or another, she kinda reminds me of Sunny and Luna's younger sister, but I can't put a finger as to why. Never intentionally, from the looks of it, but most people say they have a good time. At least we have a lot of sales at the gift shop too, and we don't really have any bad reviews. Mostly because the people who leave them get, I can't say those things here. But anyhow, barricade your windows and lock your doors. It's fruit season. I'm Ash, your librarian. And do you like fruit? Well, Carroll Cove is known for its abundance of their locally grown mangoes, oranges, guavas, and all sorts of other fruit that are available in the streets and parks of Carroll Cove. Fruits from all over the world can probably be harvested here, which is why there's a large effort to protect the citizens from it. Lots of casualties happen every year during the harvest season, and this year alone saw the destruction of a local convenience store. It's always a good idea to be prepared for it. I personally have a bag of food, water, clothes, identification, cash, and my weapon of choice, a phone book with nails stuck to it stashed nearby. But hey, can't be too prepared, so check your calendars before you stop by Carroll Cove. Anyways, while I'm cooped up over here in the library, I can answer even more questions. Well, according to this newspaper, the skyscraper was built after Suitville was destroyed. As for my grandpa and I, he used to work there before he retired and decided to just go to the library to do his own thing here. I'm not entirely sure if putting just about anything on tortilla chips is Mexican, although I guess stuff like sushi, ice cream, and fruit salad is a little ridiculous. What? Really? That's odd. I only ever upload on Yggdrasil. No one else, really. So I guess that's a little weird. But anyways, I'm back, and I always come back. I'm Asher Librarian, and back in the 20s, Carroll Cove had a booming animation community, producing works like Red, the Hot-Headed Oven, Danny, the Depressed Dandelion, and the most popular, and my favorite, Gil, the Tenacious Tuna. The story followed the adventures of a tuna fish and his friends, and he became quite the celebrity in town. They even built a little theme park at the studio, where they produced all of the knickknacks, but due to some complicated legal proceedings and possible demonic activity, it was shut down. Did that stop the Gil boom here? No, an indie dev made an entire franchise dedicated to Krusty the Lobster, Sally Salmon, and Gil himself, which skyrocketed its popularity. The studio itself now serves as an attraction where kids and influencers alike can try to survive without getting their head bitten off. Would you like to try a night shift? Anyways, here I am, ready to answer any questions you may have. Oh no, there's no dragons here. That would be silly. Mermaids, on the other hand, that's another story. Given everything that's here, probably. I mean, there are fairy circles all over, especially the park. They're more likely a little fairy tale, but who knows? Then again, they are the least of your worries here. Huh, I don't know. How can she even grab these? No, I'm not. Don't you dare snitch. I can't ask her about it, but I'm sure it's fine. Anyways, Do you find this place strange? I do. I'm Asher Librarian, and I'd like to believe that everybody is a truth seeker. At least, that's what my grandpa taught me. This is why I love living in Carroll Cove, the very town that's filled with mystery, and is a great place for people like me to explore. Though it is kind of weird that not a lot of people acknowledge it, and nobody seems to mind or care at all. I mean, there are possible aliens, dinosaurs, zombies, and other anomalies all around, but everybody treats it like just another Tuesday. People who ask questions about it, like me and my grandpa, are tagged as just kooks who have too many conspiracies, rotting their brains, despite the fact that there are literal entities that are robbing people's brains here. And I have proof.
Ash, are you talking about conspiracies again?
No, Mr. Sherbert. Sorry, that was my boss. Anyways, I should probably continue this with the questions and end this. Oh, that's just from one of the hidden cameras set around the area there. There's plenty of those around that old park. I just so happened to take a photo or two from it is all. Oh, are you from Carroll Cove too? Gosh, we might have passed by each other for all we know. I have everything I need right here. Why would I want to leave? But anyway, do you know portals? I'm Asher Librarian, and yeah, it's such a fun game with a great concept in my opinion. I find it fascinating because there is a chance that you might find yourself going through one in Carroll Cove. I mean, it's a small percent, but it's significantly higher than the rest of the world. One minute you're going to the toilet, and the next you're suddenly on top of Gaiacorp's skyscraper. Nobody really knows what or why, or if it's even real, but it's reportedly common in places where the fog is prominent. Despite this, it's a popular trend among college students who keep filming themselves opening and shutting doors for a good solid minute to see if anything will happen. It's silly at the first glance, but then again, I hear even Gaiacorps playing around with the concept themselves, but who really knows? Anyways, here's what I know, that you guys have a lot of questions. Oh, well, we call them the Greys around here. But from what we know, they're not the undead. But at the same time, they're not all alive either. But I call them zombies because that's the closest thing I can describe them as. But I'm pretty sure it's an oversimplification. I'm a fan of the game, I guess. But I am looking forward to the new movie. I hear it's coming out soon. Oh, that was just my boss. Apparently some Gaiacorp representative came over to ask me a few questions. Nothing to worry about. I'll update you guys on what happened, if and when I can. But anyways, here's some recent events from Carroll Cove. I'm Asher Librarian, and remember that explosion a couple years back? Well, weird stuff's been happening all around town since then. But Ash, I hear you ask, how much weirder can it get? Well, the fog did start to roll out after that night, and these weird void-like bubbles started to appear everywhere with weird zombie-like things we call the Greys, limping out of them, triggering the lockdowns. So, pretty weird. These bubbles vary in size, and the larger ones started a trend that left college looking for more students. I have a theory that they might isekai you or something, but I don't know where valid speculation ends and my fanfiction begins. Though I do worry, since the biggest building-sized one is apparently where my college buddy Camille lives. But I'm pretty sure she went back to her parents' place before that, I hope. Anywho, I got a few more questions from a couple of you guys. Apparently it happens more often than you think, so Gaiacorp decided to put up a toilet there, but they also said that they don't have any legal obligation to help you get down, so you just gotta figure that out. Well, I can't say for certain that you'll get whisked away into a fantasy world. You could come back as a Grey, or maybe you'd end up on the Gaiacorp skyscraper toilet. I guess it does sound like a whole other world up there. Well, I did get a pink slip. Not sure what that means, but I might try something new after this particular project. Maybe a podcast, maybe interviews on the street, who knows? But anywho, jonesing for a drink? I'm Asher Librarian, and why not grab one at the local bar downtown, Brights? I myself am a frequent patron, since it isn't as rowdy as other college bars. And the food's pretty decent too. It's run by my old college buds, Joseph, Tobias, and Bucky, who are part of the uni's horror society. They decided to start a bar after graduating and went with the fun horror themed. And if you thought I said something else, then you might not be wrong. It's popular with the ladies, horror fans, and ghosts for said theme, and for the fan service, which can get excessive, but if you're like me, then I recommend staying after hours for their spooky stories. I'm not sure where they get them, or if they're even real, but if you're down for a good spook like I am, then check them out, if not for other things. But anyway, why hello there, question and answer section. I don't think they can reach all the way up there. They're severely underfunded, and they don't have a helicopter. Oh, we're not from the US, we're from Damn it. I mean, we have nice trails in the park. We have interesting attractions like the Haunted Circus and the Haunted Animation Studio. There's also a great university that may or may not be covered in zombies. And I don't mean the Greys. But it's all fine here. Nothing to worry about. Gaia Corp has it all under control. That's gotta be a lot to lug around all the time. I better ask Dave if he has any more spares if you'd like, but I don't know if he has enough for all you guys. But anyway, what do you think? Let us know if there's anything you'd like to know about Carroll Cove. Here's something that's sort of related to Carroll Cove. I'm Ash, your librarian, and you might have heard me mention Suitville every now and again. Some of you have asked about it, but since it's not really part of the town, I didn't think to mention it too much. But it is intertwined with our history, so why not? Suitville was a town that was located much closer to the mines up in the mountains, and the remaining residents tend to keep to themselves. Back in the 80s, there was a massive fire that burned through the entire town with no explainable cause. Because of this, a lot of survivors relocated into Carroll Cove. A lot of folks lost everything to the fire, and if you ask the ones who remember the day, they'll all have interesting stories to tell. Despite knowing what happens, they never seem to get to the end of the story, as a sense of dread seems to overcome them before they could. But anywho, can't answer too many questions today, guys, but I'll try to answer more when I can. Haha, I'm okay, guys. It's all good. Yeah, you can grab one over in the Pride's bar. I'm sure they got some. What else? Anyway, happy Halloween! I'm Ash, your librarian, and this video is sponsored by the Lantern Folk, who may or may not be a cult looking for these guys, who apparently need to be sacrificed to their deity, Jack. I don't know why, but they seem to be quite pissed off. Again, not a cult, allegedly, but there may be one in Carroll Cove, at least according to Gaia Corp. They're the Societas Librariorum, who are said to date way back into the past, with notable members that included John Carroll and Louis Daniel themselves. It's said that they were told to guard an ancient artifact called the Collectio Obscura that is said to have belonged to their deity. It was said to be lost to time thanks to the monster of Carroll Cove. For a while, they blamed Gaia Corp for stealing the book somehow, leading to Gaia Corp labeling the group a cult, but I'm not entirely convinced. Though, I do wonder, where is the book nowadays? Oh well, anyway, so I can't really answer any questions. Not today, at least. Maybe if I can find some place to. I kinda got fired. Probably should have seen that coming, but no matter. This isn't gonna stop me from talking, cause Grandpappy taught me to never shut up. I'll just have to set up something else. So I hope to be back to answer more questions. Stay tuned! Oh, Ash! Is that you? Alyssa?